Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech protected.
Local news, politics, business, sports, arts, music. Mike and Marty on the beat. Mike and Marty. Mike and Marty on the
Good morning, Rockingham, Bellows Falls, and now Keene.
I know, exciting.
Here we are. It's The Feed with Mike and Marty. Today is March 8th, 2023. It's International Women's Day, so congratulations.
Yeah, it should, I
We're
think
celebrating.
That should truly be every day, but
Yeah,
it's just
well,
me.
it is sort of, isn't it? Yeah.
Well,
Today, our guests are Clif Steinberg and Sara Allen. We're going to be talking about Sojourns here in a minute. But first, Marty with local events.
local events. So at the Bells Falls Opera House, starting on March 10th, is Knock at the Cabin. It's an M. Night Shyamalan production, so you know it's going to be a little creepy. It is R-rated, so I do always like to point that out, that for folks that are not aware of the ratings. The classic movies will be back in April. They're taking a brief hiatus because the Opera House is being transformed and getting ready for Year in Town. But if you are missing classic movies, I suggest you check. You guys are so good. I said Year in Town. You popped it up. I suggest that you go down to Next Stage in Putney. They're doing a rockumentary series, and they are doing this movie that's called Searching for Sugar Man. I talked a lot about it last week. I won't bore you again with it, but it's just a really good documentary or rockumentary, so I would suggest that. Bells Falls Opera House is gearing up for their spring musical, SpongeBob SquarePants, or SpongeBob Musical. That is happening this weekend. It's happening March 10th at 7 p.m., March 11th at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. So make sure you go out and support the high school. It's been a few years since they've been able to do their productions. Speaking of productions, we have Year in Town coming to the Opera House. That's starting March 24th. It'll run through that weekend and the following weekend, finishing on April 1st. We had David on a few weeks ago to talk about the production. Every time I go into the town hall, you can peek in the theater and see the staging. I think it's going to be a great production. Make sure you get your tickets at the Bells Falls Opera House. Super easy to get. Coming to the Bells Falls Opera House is the second in the Ray Masuko concert series, Steel Wheels. They're coming on Friday, April 7th. They have Peter Mulvey as an opener. Tickets are going for these concerts. So make sure you go to the Bells Falls Opera House to secure your seat. Cover band for Nirvana coming in Thursday, May 18th, called Smells Like Nirvana. Again, seats available at the Bells Falls Opera House. Third concert in the Ray Masuko concert series is the Chris Smither. That's coming Saturday, September 23rd. You can probably wait a little bit and decide on that one because tickets aren't going quite as fast because it's a little further forward, but I would get on the Steel Wheels tickets if you're interested. And then finally, happening in June, Rotary is combining forces with the local theater group, Wild Goose Players. I had a little brain cramp right there. And we're producing a Bells Falls Festival. It's going to be a one-day music festival on June 10th. It's going to run from 1 until about 10 at night. We have 2 pretty good name headliners, and then we're having a lot of local bands. We'll have food trucks. There'll be a beer and wine tent and whatever other fun things we can think of. We just want to kind of have that festival vibe that we used to have when Ray was producing Roots on the River. So stay tuned for more information on that. And that is it for local events.
All right.
So now we can go on to the main
event.
topic, the main event. You guys
Well,
are the
welcome,
main event.
Sara and Clif. It's great to have you here. We want to hear about Sojourns and what exactly is Sojourns, and I guess tell us a little bit about integrated medicine. So, Clif, first introduce yourself and tell us who you are and how did you get here?
Yeah, my name is Clif Steinberg. I'm a naturopathic doctor. I got here sort of roundabout way, but it's part of the story of how I found Sojourns. As I was finishing up my medical training out in Portland, Oregon, I had friends living in the area, and I was coming to visit them anyway. And somebody just said, hey, there's this new clinic starting up in Vermont. Why don't you check it out? And I said, sure, why not? I reached out to Sojourns at the time, and they invited me in. And I was very casual about it. I had no real idea what it was. And anyway, longer story short, I walked through the doors of Sojourns, and like many patients and many other of my coworkers, as soon as we entered, it was like, oh, I'm home. This is where I belong.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, that's really the feeling I had, which of course meant I got nervous immediately because I was like, because I'd been very casual. And anyway, as luck would have it, they invited me to come and join the team as it started out 22 years ago.
Wow.
And yeah, and the thing about Sojourns that I hope will become clear is it's a really unusual place. I've been to many clinics, integrative clinics, holistic clinics, all over the place, and there's no other place that I have found that rivals Sojourns for sort of the feeling, the closeness, the camaraderie that exists there. A core principle of ours is to share clinically relevant information on a daily basis. So we actually meet every single day to talk about what's going on clinically. And anyway, so that's at least what brought me in.
When you say, and I'm digressing already. When you say you meet and talk about things happening clinically, are you talking about individual patients or like the various fields and how they come together?
Yes and yes. Yeah, so it is a practitioner meeting every single day, midday, and the goal there really is to collaborate closely on patients. So many patients who come to Sojourns will see more than one person because we have various disciplines under the same roof, and it's a way to exchange relevant information and to support our patients, and it also is a way to teach each other. So I know you have seen chiropractors and have had great benefit from that. So we have a great chiropractic team, and they teach me all the time, things about the body that I didn't learn in medical school, things that I didn't understand. So things like that. We have physical therapists, we have acupuncturists, and anyway, it's a very rich environment for a practitioner.
Yeah.
I wanted to just jump in on that, just to follow through. When you said home, all of a sudden it clicked with me, and I was like, it literally is in an old home, so that gives it a total appeal. And it just clued me into when I was waiting to see, I'm now seeing one of your naturopaths, and when I was waiting, I went upstairs to the I guess it's the downstairs waiting room, and the chair I was sitting in was this beautiful leather chair, and I thought, oh, I would like that in my house. It wasn't clinical, it wasn't sterile, it was, I'm not saying it's not sterile, but it wasn't cold. It wasn't sterile, it was awful. Bad choice of words. It was like a home, it was comfortable. It wasn't institutional, there we go, that's better. And just a quick thing about your chiropractic team, and how you all, so the first chiropractor I saw treated me for something very specific, and then in going back for follow-through treatments, the technique that he was best with didn't exactly work for me. So he said, you know what, I think you need to see a different chiropractor because they have a different technique. And then I saw her for a while, and then there was something else going on. Like, oh, wait a minute, now we really need to bring in, and I love that there's no ego there. It's like, which is not necessarily always the case, I think, in practices of any kind, but that it was like, no, you were working as a team, and what would work for me as the patient was more the concern than, wait a minute, that's my client moving over to, and I think that's huge to kind of point out, that that's not always the case. it's in other places.
Well,
I'll
they're
just leave
different
it at that.
missions.
Different missions.
That's such a
exactly.
great example, Marty. I mean, that's our intention, and in that the providers collaborate. We had another patient who saw both chiro and PT, and he went from not being able to bend at the waist to moving hundreds of pounds of bales of hay
Oh,
because
wow.
he had such great treatment, and they were using their intuition and their knowledge and expertise. So I think that's the other thing that makes our providers unique is they are relying on both the clinical expertise and intuition and collaboration, because all of their minds together around a single case can be far more effective.
So you're probably one of the longer folks, the longer standing, and you're on the other end.
I'm really new. I moved
The
up
newbie.
here, about a year ago, just for this job, and have had a long time passion for integrative health. And I suppose my foray into that started when I had a spinal fluid leak several years ago. And my physical therapist taught me that it wasn't just the mechanics of the body that need to heal, but your lymphatic system, your adrenals, all of those internal systems. And so I think that's what's so beautiful about what Sojourns is doing, is that it's looking at the whole person. And the minute someone walks through the door, we see them as whole. Not that we're denying their symptoms, but we see the person behind the symptoms. And we have a pilot program right now that we're working on as well, where we're looking at the emotional and mental components too of wellness and how past trauma can influence current ailments. So it really is whole body care.
Is that something that you kind of started because you were seeing an uptick from like people being like post-COVID and kind of or you just had planned it anyway? Was it?
I think, trauma always has a role in health, and so we had applied for a grant. One of our providers, Dr. Song, had a concept for a project. He had gotten a specific certification in holistic counseling, and so we crafted a pilot program around that. And we do hear a lot about how mental health there's been an uptick in mental health, but we don't have licensed counselors on site, but we wanted to provide something that could tap into that part of what patients were suffering from. And it's been really effective. We're a little more than halfway through the program, so it'll be interesting to look at the data at the end. We're doing assessments pre, mid, and post to see how people are transforming. And it was really compelling to me when patients applied for the program to read about their symptoms and their level of self-awareness. I mean, they really understood that there's something more going on in my body than just the physical body.
Interesting.
Now, how you applied for a grant? Does your funding come? Do people pay insurance, or there's a grant, or is it self-pay, or is it anesthesia?
I'm so glad you asked, Mike. We are a nonprofit clinic. I don't know if any people know that.
Yeah.
But insurance, because we want to serve a broader array of people, we do take most insurances. However, the rate at which we're reimbursed is between 70 and 75% of what we charge. So last year we had a huge deficit in our budget because of that. So we welcome your donations, but that's where the community really fills the gap. And we not only do we provide healthcare services, but there's two other kind of program areas at the clinic that are really important to mention. So one of those is around community education. And this year we're looking at building out a more robust course offering, both online and like downloadable courses on gut health, anxiety, and then live courses as well. And so in the past, we've offered courses on breath work. We do a cleanse with Dr. Hastings. And so we're looking to expand that, because not only is it a revenue generator for us, but it also because we're booked out so fully with patient visits, it's another way we can serve people with health information that they need. And then the other exciting thing is our apothecary store, where we sell very carefully vetted supplements and herbal tinctures, and they're selected by our providers for quality, the fewest additives that you can find on the market, I think. And it's now online. So wanted to let your viewers know that if you use a discount code FIRST10, FIRST10, you can get 10% off on our new online apothecary. We're still building it out, but go to our website and you can find that.
Neat. Every time you say something, it generates.
good.
The online apothecary, then, how do people know what to get?
Clif.
Well,
when they use their first 10, what are they using it for? And how do
whatever
choose?
they like, but if they have been to see somebody at Sojourns, oftentimes there's a treatment plan that includes some supplementation, and it just depends. It varies a lot. But a lot of people already know what they want.
Yeah.
I don't know if you take supplements, or maybe you do, and
I do.
So, and one of the challenges when you take supplements is finding products that you can count on, and that is something that we do spend time on, is trying to make sure that there's manufacturing practices that are reasonably good, and that there's some kind of third-party testing of the quality.
And we never want a supplement, even if it's a natural supplement, to just be a Band-Aid on a symptom. So just like with pharma or anything that you're putting in your body, I think our providers are helping patients to see what the root cause is and what supplements can kind of get them back to a reset. Right, Cliff? I mean,
For sure.
It's not, you don't want to become dependent on anything, really.
I also think you
even
don't. I
natural.
think you don't want to just randomly, because you heard that so and so said that such and such was really good, just
Yeah.
take it. So I think that having someone that looks at you specifically and what you need is much better than. And I think also when you are getting supplements through a clinic like yours, what you just spoke to, you kind of vet them versus getting them over the counter, because they're not regulated like normal pharmaceuticals. So even if it says it has this ingredient in it, it might not have the same. It might not have that completely. It might not be absorbed in the way that you need to have it absorbed. I just started with B12, the sublingual B12, so it will absorb better. So I mean, I could have gone and gotten B12 over the counter, but this actually is working. So little things like that.
Yeah, there is a lot to that. There's a lot of subtle things that may not be obvious to begin with, and it does make a difference. And I agree exactly with what you said, which is, sometimes it's really beneficial to use a supplement, and it's not our preferred form of sort of generating health, but it's useful.
I think you keep saying, and I think maybe it would be helpful because you were talking about education. So let's educate the viewers. The idea of integrative, and so the words I hear, you look at the whole person and you look more at the root cause versus just the symptoms. Is that a good jumping place to talk about exactly what integrative medicine is? I'm sure there's more to it, but is that a good is that a good jumping off point?
Yeah, that is. I think that integrative is a vague and kind of loose term, and it can include a lot of things. I think the way Sojourns looks at it in general is, we are trying to integrate a lot of different aspects of what influences our well-being in general, and try to weave it together in a way, so it does include, what kind of things you're eating, what kind of, your activity level, how much your stress is. And then there's the integration of care as well as part of it. So I don't know if you'd say more than that.
I would just add to that. You'll see centers now popping up, like there's a lifestyle medicine department at North Star, formerly known as Springfield Medical Systems, and up at Dartmouth, there's a Center for Integrative Care. I mean, you can Google it, but it is becoming, I think, more widely recognized as if I dare to say, better form of care, because you're looking at all of the parts of a person's lifestyle. Stress, sleep, sunshine, diet, all of those things really impact your health.
Yeah, you can add Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic to that list. Right.
Because I mean, I think sometimes people are kind of on one side of the fence or the other, either like what you would consider modern or regular medicine versus holistic, and really they can work quite nicely together. And I think that's what a lot of people think, they have to choose either or.
Yeah.
There's definitely times when you need one or the other, but I think they can work well. It's interesting that we're kind of finally coming to that conclusion.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and one of the things we're advocating for, if you sign up for our newsletter, you'll get an email tomorrow about it. Is Medicare doesn't cover naturopathic care, and so there's letters you can write. There's ways to advocate, and I think the clinic, Clif and I are looking to get to do more of that, to advocate for naturopathic care to be covered, because there's certain people like those on Medicare who cannot access it and have to resort to Western care. Maybe they want both. So,
Why is it called Western care?
oh, that's a great question.
Because I would call it the medical model or
Allopathic care,
something. Yeah.
Traditional medicine.
Yeah, allopathic medicine is another good way to describe it. And I think, it is a good question because, the dominant medical system in this country, it is sort of Western derived and very scientific and analytical in its, underpinnings. And then, it has sort of morphed into something, bigger than that as well. But I think in contrast to the integrative idea, the sort of the allopathic model may not always look at some of the other influences we were talking about. So, yeah.
I think that a couple of events you have coming up, because we're getting to under the 5-minute mark.
Yeah.
So we know you're doing a chamber mixer.
Yes, March 16th, we're hosting
You have a
the
big sign-up.
Bellows Falls Chamber Mixer. Wonderful. Come at 6 o'clock. We'll have some fun giveaways, including a free acupuncture session and a free
Wow.
infrared sauna.
Ooh.
Yes. So bring your business cards. And then April 20th, we're featuring local artists in an art pop-up fundraiser and show
Is that going to be
at the clinic.
clinic?
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah, it'll be
nice.
an open
Very
house,
nice.
April 20th, I think at 6 o'clock. So all that will be on our website soon and or Facebook.
Great.
And then
Just for people who may not know, where is the clinic?
Oh, just which side of the river are we on? I live in
We're on-
Walpole. So
On the Vermont side.
We're in Vermont.
We're on the west side. Of the
We're
river.
right just past Allen Brothers on Route 5, near that Dunkin' Donuts gas station, and there's a vet clinic. We're on an organic farm, which is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, look for the solar
Cool.
panels.
it's actually technically it's 4293 US Route
There you
5
go.
West.
Or that.
I did write down, and then we should have a slide that gives the contact information, www.sojourns.org, and phone numbers 802-722-4. There it is. I knew I'd given it help. There's your contact information,
Okay.
too, your Sojourn Edra, and I guess they didn't get the
Oh.
phone number in, but 722-4023. One thing you did mention, which I find interesting, is you have someone who's actually known, because she was at the clinic before, coming back and doing a new cleanse program. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, Saphir is offering a 4-week cleanse that'll be starting in mid-May, and that will be posted on our website as well, so we have more information about it. But she'll be taking participants through a nutritional cleanse, and she also does nutrition counseling and coaching for one-on-one clients.
And for folks that may know her, she was Stacy
Yes,
previously.
yes.
Stacy Lennosh-Keller. She did work for both Sojourns, and she worked for the Rockingham or the Springfield Medical Care Systems, and ran programs, cleanses and programs through them. And she's I've done at least 2 programs with her, and she's amazing.
She's great.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
gotten great feedback.
So
Right.
that's something I think in the realm of, if there's anything that you want to educate yourself about for your health, I think that's a great place to start. Is look at what you're eating and
Absolutely.
putting into your body.
Great. Well, the problem I'm having is I think we've only scratched the surface
Yes.
of this. We've like skimmed at the very top of this subject. I would like to invite you guys to come back
Thank
at
you.
some time and maybe go into more of it, and maybe do some shows about some specific areas. That would be fun.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
We'd
yeah.
love to. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank
That'd
you.
be great. Thank you. Yeah. Do you ever go off site and do shows?
We don't typically go off
All
site.
right.
That doesn't mean we won't go off
All
site.
right.
Okay.
What we typically do though is go on to a site, video, and then
Uh-huh.
come back and talk about
Oh.
it here.
We could do
Yeah,
that.
come to
Yeah.
the clinic.
We'll show
yeah,
you.
yeah.
It's
The-
a
Because I
special
think
place.
that
The
we-
famous chair.
The famous chair. I know.
Yeah,
I could be sitting
yeah.
in the famous chair talking.
But no, yeah, I think we should really do something. It's great topic, and it's
Yeah.
very important in these times when.
And you did have a testimonial. I think that did kind of maybe sums up kind of what.
Yeah, I mean, I shared it
Yeah.
briefly. It was the fellow that was lifting the bales of hay, but I will read it for you all.
So we'll close with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so John Foster, he gave permission to use his name. When I came to Sojourns, I could not bend down at the waist without support from a chair, counter, or wall. I was unable to flex in the middle, do a sit-up, or even get out of bed without pain and a deep sense of foundational weakness. Over the course of 5 months, working with Dr. Hastings and Dr. Knowlton, I was well on my way to returning to the level of physical activity and mobility that had been my norm. I could feel my body and mind responding to, indeed relishing, in my returning fitness. In fact, I was able to move 400 pounds of rock salt and help a neighbor move 1,100 bales of hay.
Oh my gosh.
I read that and I thought, John, please don't hurt your back again. These providers are prime examples of what makes Sojourns an outstanding model of healthcare. They listened with care, applying both learned knowledge and unique intuition to stimulate changes necessary for healing in my body and consciousness.
Wow,
Perfect
that's
ending.
That's great.
wonderful.
Bye.
Thank
That's
you.
it. See you next week. Thank you.
Local news, politics, business, sports, arts, music.